Um, Thank you very much. We've got Richard here from the Connection Coalition, somebody that I've obviously had quite a lot of contact with over the years. Richard, you want to talk a little bit about the Connection Coalition and what that's doing, and it's part of the Jo Cox Foundation. Just wondered if you could give us a real sense of that. I mean, some people in the room will have a good idea of that, and others not.
Yeah,
Be good to hear from you, Richard. Nice to see you.
and you. Thanks for asking me along, and nice to see everyone. Yeah, you asked me some big questions, Mark, in preparation for
I
this.
like to do that.
I'll start with the easy one. You said, "How did I get into it?" So I can do that. That's before joining the Jo Cox Foundation, just over a year ago. I was a teacher. I was a wannabe artist and psychotherapist, and
Oh, wow.
I did some movement building work at Parkinson's UK. But the main parallel, actually, the main reason I got into it was because for a long while, I worked at Mind in mental health, anti-stigma and discrimination work. And I think there's a lot of parallels in the kind of issues we were grappling with back then on the Time to Change program that I worked on with stigma and discrimination in some senses around loneliness. So
Oh, Richard, have we lost you?
the host muted me, apparently. Was I droning on already?
I was muting somebody else because some noise was coming in. Sorry.
That's all right. So anyway, so Jo Cox Foundation. Well, Jo, for those that don't remember, she was the MP for Batley and Spen in West Yorkshire, of course. She was a passionate campaigner, activist, humanitarian, mum, daughter, sister, wife, friend, and she was murdered in 2016. And after that murder, her friends and family set up the foundation in her name, really to try and do some good in areas that we know Jo was passionate about. So we can't always respond to things in the way Jo would have done, because who knows? And she would have been extremely active right now with what's going on in the world. She was an internationalist, but what we can do is we can try and do some good, hopefully, in areas that she did a lot of campaigning on, and she did a lot around loneliness and a lot around disconnection in society. We're not political. She was Labour MP, but we've got no political affiliation at all. But we do quite a lot of work in the political arena, and in fact, we've come to the end of a period of research around more respectful politics, and we're about to release within the next couple of weeks a report with recommendations called the Jo Cox Civility Commission around more respectful politics, less abuse, and kinder politics, essentially, between politicians and between us and politicians. So look out for that. That's been a really big piece of work. But we also do a lot of community-based work, and so the Great Get Together is one piece of that, and the Great Winter Get Together. I'll say a little bit about that. More in Common network we have as well. I won't talk so much about that because it would just go on and on, but we have their clusters of organisations and individuals around the country doing work in local areas to show we have more in common than that which divides us, which were the famous words in Jo Cox's maiden speech in Parliament when she became an MP. And the Connection Coalition. We also do a lot of work in the West Yorkshire region. And Rachel, I've scribbled down your name, and I'm sure if you're not already in touch with my colleague Haviza, you will be soon. I will make sure of that.
Excellent.
So the first Great Winter Get Together stuff, I'll describe that. Then the Connection Coalition, which is my personal area of work. So the Great Get Together happens in June every year. It's always based around Jo's birthday, and actually this summer would have been her 50th, so it's particularly pertinent. And it's really a celebration, a national celebration, the UK's kind of celebration of all that we have in common. And it's about, there's a lot going on, obviously, as we know, in that June-July period every summer. There's the month of community, and it's a busy time. But we think what sets the great get together apart a little bit is it really is about trying to bring people together who might not normally come together. It's about bridging divides. And there's so much in the 32 steps, Mark, that resonates so strongly with everything we're doing. So it's really good to be here. And I'm sure there are ways of bringing that in to the campaign. So we support and encourage people to run activities at that time of year, around the end of June.
Have you set a date for this year?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's always the weekend closest to her birthday, so it's something like it's something like the 26th, 27th of June, but okay. I might be a few days out. What I'll do is I'll post in the chat after I've finished yabbering away a few links to various bits that I've mentioned, and I'll include in that the dates. Parallel, I don't know if that's the right word, to the great get together, we have a great winter get together, and that's happening now, and this is a part of that, this gathering, and I'm grateful that you're doing that as part of that campaign. And whilst the summer campaign is more about bridging divides, encouraging people to run small or large activities that bring people together who might not normally come together, and creating that social connection and hopefully lasting relationships and understandings between people. The winter one, this one, is a bit more loneliness focused, because obviously, like you said, it's a tough time of year, and it is particularly at the moment with all that's going on in the world. So it's community focused. We're kind of deliberately doing it just after Christmas, because it feels like there's quite a lot around Christmas and there isn't much going on in this period. So that connection gap, as we see it, and there's loads going on this weekend all over the country. We're not really about volume, and we are tracking this stuff obviously and understanding the depth of impact, but we're not ones to necessarily bang on about how many, but there is quite a lot going on, and I'll share the map so you can see.
Life isn't all about numbers, is it? Really? Exactly
right. I quite agree. And to be honest, you can make numbers work for you in any way you wish, right? So we're really aware of that. But I mean, you said to me actually in the questions you sent me, you said, well, how can people get ideas and learn about putting on things as part of campaigns like the Great Get Together and Great Winter Get Together? And you're right, it's not about numbers. Like, small things make a massive difference. And I'll share a link to a report that we've just produced called Moment to Movement, and that really shows that actually just participating in something small can make a massive difference for you and for the people that you might be connecting with in small spaces, in small fleeting ways, and they can stick, and relationships can build as a result of them. So it doesn't have to be big. I'll share a toolkit that we've produced with lots of ideas in it, and 7 Keys to Connection report, which we made last year, working with some of the members of the network, which I'll talk about in a sec. Lots of ideas in there, but the 32 Steps Connection report as well, there'll be loads of ideas in there. And there are lots of these things out here of different ways of thinking about creating really good quality social connection. And these things do need to be thought about, of course. They don't necessarily happen organically. You need to kind of think about the spaces, think about the time people have together, think about activities they can do together that might overcome awkwardness and or fear. So I'll share a toolkit, and do have a look at the 32 Steps report as well, and the map. So these things together, that's a lot of other things out there. I know Warm Welcome are doing a lot this month as well, obviously with their campaign, and they've got loads of great advice on events and activities that bring people together really effectively. So the Connection Coalition, the last thing, it's another project that we're doing at the Jo Cox Foundation alongside the Great Get Together campaign. It's a network it fluctuates, but it's around 1,000 people, and it's been going since 2020, and it started as a response to the pandemic. It was right at the start, April 2020. Jo Cox Foundation, along with Red Cross, Mind, Cares Family, and 1 or 2 others, Age UK, felt like, well, we're going to have a pandemic of loneliness and disconnection here. We're going to be socially isolated, enforced, and things are going to get really horrible for a lot of people, as they did, of course. But the network was started as in an attempt to try and fend some of that off and do something together across the country to make sure anything good that was happening was shared and could be amplified. So it's existed since then, into its 4th year now. We do informal get-togethers. I do a newsletter. I'll share the link. Everyone's welcome to sign up. It's completely free, and it's just a nice way of keep holding a connection between people who care about social connection and loneliness in the UK and internationally, actually. A big thing we did last year was I ran a community of practice for a group of the network, kind of looking at some of the challenges that people working in social connection in their communities are facing and trying to work through it together. And that Jackie, hi Jackie, was a member of that. And we're just finishing the evaluation, but it was really effective. I mean, it was a nice thing to do. People enjoyed it, but we're also really pleased that it seems to have had some impact in terms of people's partnerships and ways of working, which was important to us. So this year, I'll carry on doing some of those little things, informal gatherings, newsletters, but we're looking at how can we support people in the network to do their jobs, to do social connection work in one way or another throughout the whole year, building to peaks of activity, whether that be in the summer, in the winter, to really kind of address loneliness in society. I'll be honest though that the funding for the Connection Coalition ends in 6 months, so we'll be doing some fundraising. I expect, like everybody else, and trying to think of ways of how we can bring what we do with the Connection Coalition in with our other work at Jo Cox Foundation as well, so they can strengthen each other. So there'll be some changes, I think, for the better this year with the Connection Coalition. So yeah, watch this space on that, but do join if you're interested. I'll put in a few links in the chat. But,
thank you very much, Richard, and
my pleasure.
We really value working with you. You're working for a great organisation, and I think the emails that come out with all the training courses and the connections, we really value that, and it feels like we're in a movement, which I think is really important. Is it UK wide? We've got colleagues here from Edinburgh. We've got Ian here from Edinburgh Interfaith. And are you working UK wide?
Yeah, we are. Okay. I was talking to Generations Working Together, in fact, on Wednesday, who are based up in Glasgow. Yeah, we're very much UK wide, and in fact, the Global Initiative for Loneliness joined very recently. So we've got 1 or 2 international members. So yeah, everyone's
thank you, Richard. Hey, look, anybody want to ask Richard a question? I mean, you can put stuff in the chat, but if anybody want to say anything? Hey, thanks, Richard. And see you, throughout the year working together. And as I say, we really value that. And potentially we'd like to, partner with you on the poetry competition, which is national. We've got 3 poets, a Hindu poet, a Muslim poet, and a Christian poet. We're just extending that a little bit as part of the judging panel. So I'll bring that to your attention any minute now. Well, in an hour or so, because we'd really like to work with you guys on that, and it fits well with the words that you're using about kinder. We're quite into the idea of kindness in what can feel like quite a hostile environment.